We rolling?
We're rolling. Just give me one more clap and you guys can start.
Oops.
Good clap.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
So thanks for joining us. I'm Keaton Bessey, Greater Vancouver Tenant Property Management, and we got Marty Majerski at Remax. We've known each other for, I think, a couple years, 3 probably years now. I run a property management business, of course, and Marty runs a real estate business doing buying and selling. And just we both represent clients of the Greater Vancouver area, and we both also enjoy each other's company when talking about this thing that feeds us and our families is real estate and services. So we wanted to sit down and have a honest conversation and enjoy a bit of single malt, and we got some Kentucky stuff over there too, to just relax and really share some interesting anecdotes and stuff with everybody. So thanks for joining. For those practical, honest reasons, I'm excited to get into a conversation with you about the real estate market today. First thing on my notes here, hearing a lot about, whether it's on Twitter or just colleagues and other podcasts.
It's X, by the way.
I might.
X.
It's Twitter forever, yeah. And just hearing a lot about multiple offers, and they're still popping up, but they're not quite what they were historically, is how Vancouver kind of feels. So when you're seeing multiple offers going on out there, what's actually happening? How has it changed, I guess?
Yeah, it's funny, when we walked in, we sat down, 3-4 weeks ago to kind of just see if we're going to do something like this. And when we walked in today, it was like, well, things have changed rather quickly in a couple weeks. Multiple offers, yeah, they're back. But it's not the height of the COVID bull market, right? Back then it was every single property goes on the market, 2 open houses, Monday, Tuesday, you're looking at 10 to 12 to 15 offers. That's how crazy it was. We are seeing some outlandish multiple offer situations. We get notices even on properties that my clients don't write on, but if we've inquired on that property, I'll get a notice saying, offers are due today, blah, blah, blah. I've got 20 in hand so far. That happened this past week, property in Coquitlam. You're seeing that, but those are places that the realtors are aggressively underpricing the property. We're going to see one this weekend at 1.5. It's got a DRPO, which means there's an offer date for next week. But the property's assessed on BC Assessments. I didn't even pull the comps yet, but on BC Assessments it's 1.7, and they've got it at 1.5 with an offer date. They're going to get slammed. In my opinion, I'm not sure why that's necessary, right? I don't know if that really works. I think most people now are, with the rates where they are, they're savvy enough to, look at it objectively, and they don't want to get stuck in situations unfortunately, a lot of folks got stuck in just kind of riding this exuberance in the market a couple of years ago, and when rates were super low, money's free to borrow. What's the big deal if another extra 100,000 I'm overpaying? In 6 months the market will catch that and I'll be at market value. So we're not seeing that, but yes, multiple offers right now definitely back, but mostly on fairly aggressively underpriced product, and back when the market was truly strong, when we were under 1 month of inventory, or around 1 month of inventory anyway.
Because they're not they end up selling over ask though, or
well, yeah, they'll sell over ask, because if a property
over market value, I guess.
And no, that's in some cases, but definitely not to the extent that it was a couple of years ago.
Because in 2022, you're going to look at a property, it might be just $1 million for an easy thing, and telling your clients, okay, maybe we got to go in 1.1, let's look at this, and then it comes off 1.35, and you're just
yeah, back then benchmarks were getting set with every sale, right?
Yeah.
That market value was literally changing.
New record,
new record, right? Yeah. And now it's oh, my neighbor got that. Well, that means we can get a little bit more than that, right? And that's where these crazy escalating prices came in. So no, I don't think we're quite there yet, but interestingly enough, there's been a seismic shift, I would say, in the last 5 to 6 weeks out there, where it's palpable throughout all property types. you know, like the board's reporting a near 2% increase in prices. I don't know if I quite buy that, but you know, they're going off of an index. It's a proprietary formula where they're trying to combine prices from the Sunshine Coast to
Is the HPI? Is that what they go off of?
yeah,
Okay.
home price index.
Lagging, right? Like it's
Lagging,
it's a
and
while.
not just that. You're like you're trying to aggregate $5 million homes and $600,000 condos to see what the trend is. Well, trends are different in those markets, right? And they're going to be different from the Sunshine Coast to Pitt Meadows, right? Like,
Yeah. And if you sell $10 million homes that month, well, now it
yes,
it gets skewed totally.
They
right?
get, yeah, exactly. And like, how do you like, you know? I think that for the most part, like, I kind of take the piss out of them from time to time in my updates. Like, this is dodgy.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, I mean, they do a good job. It's an impossible job when the board is, when the geographic area is that big and the, you know, the range of property types is so large. It's pretty hard to kind of like narrow down. Oh yeah, prices across all types are going up or down 1% up through.
You have to give something for the people to chew on. Right?
Yes.
It's like what is the average price?
100%.
And what direction is it going? And then hopefully they reach out to somebody who has their head in it. And,
That looks at
answer
it,
them,
you know,
specifically.
under a lens and sees what's going on in their specific market.
So how is that, like, I understand days on market has changed pretty significantly in the board's reporting and stuff. So, and I'm just paraphrasing off of I haven't checked myself. I just hear what other people are talking about when they report on these things because I deal with a lot of realtors. And my understanding is like the days on the market cut like in half almost, like isn't it like 30 to 15 or something like that, or that kind of a swing, but that's on the reporting. So like,
No, I think that's pretty accurate.
just
I think
kind of, it's public information, so go look it up.
Yeah. I think that's pretty accurate in general, even anecdotally. Like, you know, we were like well above 30 days on all property types not long ago. You know, definitely back half of last year for sure. Like it really slowed down. Now we're, like the median days on market for detached, I'll just go off the notes because I brought it. Detached went from 38 days on market to 16 in 1 month.
So more than half off.
Yeah,
in 1
condos
month.
29 to 13, townhouses 26 to 12. So all property types, I mean, you're looking at 2 weeks on the market, it should be sold. If you're not sold, it's an indication you're probably overpriced. You're expecting a little bit too much for your product. But
That's very interesting because we have, so on the tenant, like the rental side, we'll track, we have our dashboard and we can adjust the numbers on this thing. And I was looking at our average days on market for just our listings. So
Right.
we'll have 15 to 20 listings at any given time.
Right.
And we're looking at days on market. So this is once it got posted online to when the tenant signed the lease and we pull it offline. That's days on market. Not when it closes. It's just like how long is it online, basically, right?
And that's what we count too. It's like
Yeah.
what
Same
deal
thing.
goes firm.
Yeah, got it. And so for the last, ever since we've been tracking it, probably 3 years or plus now, it's been like 27 to 29 days.
Really?
And this
On the
is-
rental side?
Yeah, and this factors in, like, clients always want to try higher, but
That's shocking
they've
to
been
me.
told this is what it's going to rent for when the biggest thing is the tenant is the household income is 3 times the rent, right? That's the thing. And so I can get any idiot to rent a $3,000 a month apartment when it's worth $2,500. It's just how much are you going to collect at the end of the day, right? But getting to the point here is, so it's been 27, 29 days on the market just internally for a long time. We track it in our dashboard, like 180 days running average. So like just continues to move along. I keep looking at that every couple of weeks and it's like, why is this at 38 now? In like
Interesting.
January, February. And then I went in and changed it to, I was like, what's 60 days? 22.
Oh.
So I took it from 180, I just go
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the
yeah.
system and change the range, right?
Yeah.
Did from basically January 8th when all the kids went back to school. And it goes to 22 days on market from 38 from the last 6 months to like 2 months. And we felt that on the tenant side as well, where it's as soon as kids went back to school, the marketing kind of got like picked back up again when Q4 of last year for rentals was like one of the worst years I've seen in a long
Prices
time.
were dropping in Q4 last year.
Aggressively, the whole
Rental,
yeah,
like we're talking
aggressively.
rental prices.
Yeah. Like there was it's not even like the prices were dropping. It's like we were in price discovery from Labor Day to January 7th. There was no price discovery.
Why was that? Okay, so in your opinion, like where did that come from? Why did that happen? Because like you always hear rental market in Vancouver, crazy vacancies. What's vacancy? Under 1%, basically zero, right? So what would cause all of a sudden there's an abundance of rentals? Because that's why prices go down, right? People have choice. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not an abundance of rentals necessarily. That was one factor in that time period, was that we had a bit of a glut in the region of a lot of large pre-sale completions being done from like August through, still a little bit happening, right? And so that's just one factor. Another one was how were transaction volumes Q4 of last year
They were
compared to 10-year averages. They're garbage. Yeah, like 2,000, right? Like how many realtors didn't eat for 6 months?
Yeah.
And how many listing agents? We have 3 listing agents on one condo or something that I saw as well. It's like, this is, okay, stuff's getting tight. So lower transaction volumes just means there's less of a reason for people to move, right? So if you got basically 0% vacancy.
That's true, yeah.
That when somebody moves, somebody else is moving in Vancouver, generally. And so if you're not selling properties, not doing 6,000 a month, you're doing 2,000 a month, there's now just that many less people moving. It's pretty clear that people are worried about a recession happening. Whether we see that happen or not we're still going to figure that out. But companies are cutting costs and not necessarily promoting or sending somebody over across the country or across the pond or whatever to set up a new division or to start a new area. The research and development's down, all that kind of stuff. Another reason why people aren't moving around, life changes and all those kind of things aren't happening much. And the final thing was we were coming out of like July and August. It would have been end of the summer where I think like Daily Hive came out with it, and it's a good article. And Daily Hive's been very generous when they tag our stuff and everything. So thank you if Daily Hive watches this at all. But they had a very viral article that went around about the average 1-bedroom condo in Vancouver is $3,000 a month, which is not true. It's just not the facts. It's based on Zumper report or whatever, but you've got all that happening running into a time where people just aren't moving and can't really afford it. So you got landlords way over here on price expectations and tenants over here on income and affordability and options. Any of those pre-sale projects that completed, they're closing at 6.5% mortgages, because they're closing up like August to, right?
And those owners need extra scratch. They need
their money, and they're thinking, wow, I bought into this place that I bought in, 3, 4, sometime. We had a client 7 years ago bought a property in this building. We rented it out for them. And they're thinking the whole time, like, this amazing complex, like, of course it's going to rent for this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. Their expectations are through the roof, and tenants are looking at this like, no way.
Well, I mean, 7 years ago, I mean, they're well ahead on their equity at least.
Yeah. Actually, that one scenario is interesting.
Unless they bought it like $2,500 a square foot into certain projects.
No. We have one client in Burnaby in a huge development. They bought 7 years ago, one of the first buyers of the presale project, like 2016. And they bought it for it was a 1-bed, proper, perfect little donut floor plan, really nicely done. And they bought it at 406 or something in Burquitlam. And when we got in there for a deficiency inspection before they closed on it, took professional photos of the actual unit, got it on the line, and by the time it was ready to rent, they got the keys, they were one of the first to close, which is in July. We had our first day of showings, there was 9 or 10 different groups through, 6 applied, they all qualified, high incomes, excellent credit, everyone just wanted it, and we rented to it's this 43-year-old manager of a medical data science team, credit score,
through the roof.
Way looking into numbers I didn't even think existed on a credit score. You haven't heard a peep out of her, just the best possible situation at $2,500 a month for a 1-bed. And then we rented 2 more units in the same building 2 months later for 2250, barely.
Wow.
When this one was like, I can't believe you're only charging this much.
So is that just because the next round of people they had more?
It just
they
got
were
in,
leveraging.
it just got into after Labor Day.
But that's because there was like how many units in that building went on for rent? It must have been like a lot of them.
Yeah, it's a 1,200 unit complex.
Yeah.
So it's like.
How many of those people were end users? Maybe
Yeah,
half.
not everybody. Yeah, not everybody.
Maybe half.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll definitely. I mean, supply and demand. I think that's the interesting thing about pre-sales too, and like buying them as an investment. You know, a building gets completed. You know, a lot of those people that are buying pre-sales, they're not the end user, right? They're investors, and then you're getting into a situation where 20, 30 units in a building are up for rent at roughly the same time, and yeah, I mean, like there's a shortage of rental stock, but when you drop 20, 30 units, all of a sudden, you know, maybe that renter's got a little bit of leverage, right? All of a sudden, and the tide kind of, I don't know.
You got a little blip, right?
Yeah,
like
right, exactly.
System,
it's just a little like glitch in the matrix at that point.
Yeah, we'll have 100 people looking, and then we look on Facebook or Zumper or whatever, and it's like, well, there's 150 comparable units right now.
Right, all of a
We
sudden.
got 100 people looking because we can see in our system like these are the people registered.
Okay,
like, well, this is, and we can report that back to our clients. But the one super messed up thing about this whole thing, so they bought it at 406, or we're just called 400.
Yeah.
They rent for $2,500 a month, like huge, high all-time rents in that area. Minimum down payment, right? 7 years ago price, cash flow negative.
Yeah, I mean,
which is a mess.
the fact that it's 7 years ago that's a surprising thing, right?
Yeah.
That they're cash flow negative. I mean,
they can sell it for $725 or something, or $700 today, but they're cash flow negative.
Yeah. I mean, in the Lower Mainland, let's face it, like people, I get these calls all the time. You know, oh, I'm thinking about buying a rental property. Where do you think is the best place to look? Where am I going to get, you know, the most cash flow? I'm like, how much down do you have? Oh, well, 20%, because that's what I need to buy a rental. I'm like, you're not cash flowing positive with 20% down in the Lower Mainland. You weren't doing that when you factored in your strata fees, property tax, and renter's insurance. Anyway, like even when rates were low, you were maybe just having to put in $50 a month, and that's pretty good. Like, I mean, well, you're not gonna scuff at that if prices are going up and somebody's paying down your investment. But like even then, you weren't cash flowing, and now it's
like
forget it.
It's like we're seeing like 50 to 60% down to just break even every month.
Yeah, and I'm not I shouldn't say I'm not seeing any investors out there, but I mean, hardly any, right? Like.
New ones, I guess.
I'd have to think like really long and hard, like how many investors we had from the mid last year to today, like when things really slowed down after the 2 rate increases in June and July last year. But yeah, I mean, right now it's mostly end users that's driving the market. You know, people moving up, people that have been, there's always going to be like downsizers and stuff like that, but mostly. People getting into the market right now, and people just moving up, life changes, kids, things like that. Yeah.
So, what is with the suits all the time? Just kidding. It's a note Marty gave me. Pre-sales, we touched on that a little bit. What is going on with like pre-sales right now? There's been a bunch of talk about they're just like not moving at all, and with this shift, even the last like month and a half, have you seen any differences in that? Phone calls, questions, like what's happening with pre-sales? And if you don't,
I mean, we're getting a lot more inquiries about it, actually, to be honest with you, especially in the last 2 months. I mean, pre-sale numbers aren't made public.
Yep.
So it's very hard to really know the truth. Obviously, developers, they don't want to be like, we're struggling here. Please buy these units. Bonuses, right?
I feel like that would spur demand.
Yeah.
They should do that.
Well, actually, yeah, that might be a strategy. Should we call MLA after this meeting?
Please come buy from us.
Rennie, if you're listening.
Yeah.
No, I think from what I can tell, and it's very anecdotal, I think there has been an uptick in pre-sale activity. I think it's generally goes with the market, and the market has definitely picked up in the last, like I said, 5-6 weeks. And from what I can tell, the rabid email dumps into my inbox of incentives to buy pre-sales have definitely cooled off, and so like that's one way to know that like, okay, maybe they're finally selling.
Is that email filters though, or is that like actual no messages anymore?
Well, no, we still get oh man, oh boy, if you looked at my inbox, I know you're very good with your inbox because you were like, you even told me, I'm deleting your, I'm unsubscribing, don't take offense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I keep all my, I let everybody rain down into my inbox. It's a bloody mess.
You don't have to reply.
Times.
It's easy to just,
Yeah. Well, that's what I do. I get on my phone, highlight, delete 20 at a time always. But no, definitely. I mean, the promotional emails are coming in, but it's not. We were seeing like crazy bonuses, like being paid out to the buyer's agent, right? Like to try and incentivize your client to come in. $20,000 bonus, $10,000 bonus if you sell a unit.
Like bonus on top of the commission they were already going to pay them. So what is a usual buyer's commission from a developer?
For the most part, it varies. You'll see 2% sometimes.
Like on the whole purchase?
Yeah,
okay.
On the purchase, you'll see that. You'll see the kind of like 3.125 on the first 100,000 and 1.15 on the balance type structure sometimes. So it varies. But yeah, I mean, we were getting into when things were slow. You were seeing like 3%, right? And with a $10,000 bonus on top.
So that just incentivizes you to give horrible advice.
Well, yeah, no, 100%. Well, I mean, yeah, it's that's always a sticky subject in my profession. I mean, look, I think that's why it's beneficial to work with somebody that's kind of, listen, we're all in the business at the end of the day to make money. That's why I put in a lot of time into my profession because I want to be good at it, to be more successful at it. But at the same time, you have to be client forward, right? Because and when you're kind of doing a little bit of volume, you do have that luxury where it's like, I'm not going to starve if you don't buy this month. Why don't I give you the right advice so that you can buy it in 6 months, and now I have a client for life, right? And that's kind of the difference. But it's a very sticky subject, right?
Well, and there's always going to be a client who has been driving past this project, and the signage and whatever, and that's just where they want to live.
Right.
And they just trust you, and they want to deal with it, or they want to deal with you only and whatever, and then you're like, okay, great, but that's just kind of a roll of the dice, I guess. But you can advise, like we advise clients away from doing things all the time, but that's what they want to do, and it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do really, right? It's just give the honest advice and then let them make their decision, right? I mean, I know it sounds weird, but there's almost something satisfying when you're like tell a client, don't go through with this deal, right?
No, that's not weird at all.
Like
at least the people who are honest.
Well, it's just like, they appreciate it, but you're doing right, and it's kind of like a perverse, weird thing because we're supposed to be out there making sales, but like there's a lot of satisfaction to that. I find, like you feel really good, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I feel like in rental, when a landlord reaches out to us, we're giving a lot of like bad news, good advice, bad news, because they're going to come to us with, hey, I just had a conversation earlier today. It's every couple days, this exact same word will come, exact same phrase will come out of somebody's mouth, and it's, oh, your rental estimate was substantially lower than I assumed. I was like, oh, great. Tell me about that. Like, why?
Why did you assume it was?
Where did you get the number from? Like, what were you expecting and why? And explain this. And it's all 90% of the time, it's, well, there's a ton of units in my neighborhood renting for, $3,000 when we told them $2,500. I was like, what? Explain renting to me.
List price is rent price?
Yeah, so it's asking price.
Yeah.
And then I can go through an analogy like, well, when I go to Save-On and pick up a jug of milk or, a carton of eggs, I don't go up to the cashier and haggle with them, right? That's what the price is. If it says $5.50, that's what you're paying, or leave it on the shelf.
Imagine how long the lineup would be if we had to haggle over it.
Exactly, yeah, thank God. But people don't understand that, like, we've had clients get, not upset with us, but like they're a little bit frustrated about like, well, this isn't a negotiable rent. And I said, well, do you have a mortgage on it? Yeah. Is it empty? Yeah. Can you afford to just let this thing run forever and pay the empty homes tax when it's vacant for 6 months? Well, no, of course not. That's what we're calling you. Well, perfect. So is rent negotiable? Yeah. It always is.
It's going to be market driven.
It is entirely the market.
Right? And like, I have this conversation all the time. It's like, I want this, the same thing. I want this and this much for my home. It's like, okay, well, we're going to do everything we possibly can to present it in the best possible light so that people see as much value in it as possible. But there's certain things I can't control. I can put out a nice video. I can, pump it out with sponsored ads. Across
cookies and vanilla.
That's right. Make some cookies at the open house. Those things I can control. Interest rates at 6.25%, like we had several months ago. Nothing I can do about that, right?
Or one of my other notes is buyer sentiment. You can't control buyer sentiment, even though Twitter thinks that realtors can't control buyer sentiment.
Apparently we can, yeah.
I don't think, even though it's funny, like I spend a lot of time on Twitter, as you know, and people blame realtors for like manipulating buyer sentiment and seller sentiment. However,
it's amazing.
The same people think realtors are complete morons. Very funny.
Yes,
where it's like you can manipulate
like
one of the largest asset class on the planet as like a cartel, even though there's way too many of them.
We have our hands on the strings to the entire population of how they're going to react to real estate. But
head of the Illuminati, Marty Majewski here.
Yes, that's right.
Today.
But we don't have no idea what we're talking about.
But so, serious question though, like
buyer sentiment.
What are you, we were talking on the walk over here, like you've got listings and you got buyer clients. What are they like thinking right now as they go into a listing, or like what are your conversations like, and layer on that, it's changed since we talked, 3 or 4 weeks ago too.
Yeah, but we're talking about buyer clients here?
Yeah, like your buyer clients. Like what are they?
Listen, in my opinion, when the market is slow, that's the ideal time to buy, right? And whenever the market is slow, and I know that I've got a list of people that have been eyeing to get into the market over the next 6 to 12 months, I'll call them up, just be having casual conversation with them, and you try and kind of explain that, hey, things are really slow right now. This is the time where you can go around, pick and choose. You have leverage. You can jump from one property to the other. You can negotiate down. You can do your inspection. You're not going to feel pressured. You think it's easy to drop $1 million? Of course not. It's like it's a very high pressure transaction.
It should take a month or two.
Yeah, it's and in a hot market, you're literally walking into an open house. You're in there for 5 minutes, and you're getting pushed out of there because it's literally like a sardine can, and you got to leave because like the place is flooded. But then you end up sounding like a realtor that wants to sell you something because the market's down.
Like Marty's calling me because his kids need food.
Food, yeah, that's right. And it's like, no, man, like honestly, you don't want to do this. So what's buyer sentiment like? I mean, like we mentioned, things are really changing quickly, and buyer sentiment is changing along with it because people are, the buyers that are casually looking, they're not oblivious to the fact that all of a sudden, 3 months ago, they were the only set of shoes outside that open house, and now they're like risking somebody walking off with their pair of shoes because there's so many and people can't find theirs. So it's like the market. Everyone tries to time the market, right? So they want to be at the very bottom, and now there's like this sense.
Buy high, sell low.
Did we just miss the bottom? And then especially like you see like the board stats come out, and the graph, the pricing graph, is like down, and then it goes this past month, right?
And that's your fault, by the way. It's Marty's fault.
I am completely
Why did you call me, Marty?
I'm completely responsible.
I did. We had a conversation.
Yeah, that's
you were
right.
too busy for me because my kids were starving to death, remember? They weren't.
Exactly.
They're fine.
Exactly.
Marty's got fat little kids. Just kidding. These kids.
One of them has big cheeks.
Yeah. Cute cheeks. Pinchable cheeks.
Cute cheeks, that's right.
That's very interesting. With the, like, generally in Vancouver, at least for people's memory, there's this like big, like the sentiment is like FOMO, like you're gonna miss out on something, like fear of missing out. And when you're bringing the word urgency, is the urgency of FOMO, I'm gonna miss out on this $1 million opportunity to own real estate, or is it like, I will be homeless if I don't make a decision soon? Like, is it a practical thing, or is it like just people making crap up again?
I think it's, I mean, it depends on everybody's situation, obviously, right?
The general tone, come on, we're here.
Yeah, I mean, the general tone, I think the FOMO is, I don't want to get caught up in a shitstorm again. Of like, where every month that I miss out in multiple offers, I'm losing 20, 30 grand of equity because I'm paying 20, 30 grand more. And I think that's where the panic is like, oh crap, like, is this turning? In 3 months, is it gonna be like just a complete dumpster fire out there again? Because that's what it was. It was like uncontrolled price appreciation based on nothing.
So it's like an inception of FOMO. So it's like, I'm worried about all the people that are going to be worried about missing out. So because this has already happened, I'm going to freak out and go.
And it happened very recently, right? So I think that thought is very fresh. People have been waiting, like at the back of last year, everyone, a lot of people were just like, well, let's see what happens. That was the general sentiment. I'm just going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see. But those people were going to get into the housing market regardless, right? But they just wanted to wait and see. And now it's like everyone's trying to pull the trigger at just the right time, which is adding to, of course, demand, right? And it's pretty impossible to time the market. If you do, you're very lucky, and if you don't, that's just what happened.
I love those conversations with people where, we got. How many are in the board now? 16,000, 20,000?
No, well, Vancouver board's 15,000, I think, give or take.
And that's doesn't include the Valley.
Valley, right? Yeah, I think Valley's another 5 or 6, although I don't see those numbers, so I could be wrong.
So yeah, we're above,
give or take.
Above 15,
right? I would say above 20,000 throughout the Lower Mainland.
Right. So yeah, if timing any market is not possible, because you have to see in the future, literally. But if people could time the market, why would you be calling people and trying to sell them things or encourage them to buy something because that's what they've,
well,
talked
just for
to
the
about
record,
the last couple
I
years.
never encourage anyone to buy anything.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you. Good. We're doing that. Just getting to my point is like, why would you be running a real estate services company? Why wouldn't you just be buying real estate if it was easy to time the market?
Right.
So
exactly.
if realtors aren't doing it, even the top, 1% of realtors, if they're not doing it, why are consumers trying to time the market? Like, why do they think they can pull that off? And I am also a human that owns a home, condo, little 50-year-old concrete thing that somebody died in, literally. I got it at a probate, so like I understand the struggles of just trying to get into the market.
You better put that on the PDS. Man.
What's that?
The death.
Oh, really? Not in Canada.
Cut the cameras.
I've talked about it enough. I don't care.
We've said enough.
Yeah. But like, it's. I don't even remember my point.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Fucked you up there.
I liked it. It was funny though.
Real estate market. Why do consumers think they can time the real estate market? Right?
I think it's time for a refill, though.
Yeah. Let's do a cut.
So we talked a little bit about buyer sentiment. What is landlord sentiment when we're hearing that like everybody's $500-600 in the red on their rental properties? Then Q4 last year, rental rates are going off a cliff in the wrong direction, right? Are you seeing people getting out of the landlord game? Are you seeing like people trying to sell their investment properties to try and keep their heads above water here? Obviously, it's like difficult economic times for many, right?
Yeah. So I always like the general conversation is always really interesting, what people say, and then what's actually like happening, like with our like private information, right?
Right.
So I'm pretty public with our, like I don't like share our company financials or anything, but I'm pretty public about like how many doors we have and all that kind of stuff. So we've got 160 doors in our management right now. So like the individual random, homes and units and condos all over the place. And with the amount of conversation around landlords getting beat up and costs skyrocketing, and I understand obviously intimately all of those things, interest rates and strata fees and insurance premiums and tenants not paying their rent and the RTB being super slow. All these things add up to a bunch of reasons to just like, why the hell would I be a landlord? And then we look at our portfolio and it's okay. We always find a little bit of a spike in January once everybody's had their Christmas dinner and talked to their uncle or whoever, giving them financial advice, and then January happens and we get all the phone calls about, okay, I'm going to sell this year. Great. Every year it happens. Yeah, no problem.
Really, January is kind of the...
It's all the time. Everybody's, okay, this is the year we're going to do that.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Tax calendar year has ended. They're thinking about capital gains and all these kind of things.
That Christmas credit card.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, hey, I got to pay this thing off. Well, hopefully you have some equity in it.
Yeah.
And so I had, of our 160 doors, I had about 7 conversations.
And how many pulled the trigger?
So we've got, one has just actually closed as of like yesterday, sold. Sold to an investor, by the way. Tenants are staying, so no 2-month notice.
Rare.
We had another one, they moved in, which was the plan to begin with. They bought a pre-sale, we rented it out for 2 years, and they moved back in because their job contract ended. They moved somewhere else, and now they're back. And that was like how they signed us up. Like we knew that was happening. We don't track it, they just call us. Okay, cool, whatever.
Do you tell that to the tenant?
No. No way. Why?
No, I'm just asking. I know, you're working for the landlord, of course.
Yeah. But
and that situation might change.
And it does way more than it doesn't.
Right.
So 1 year lease, then month to month, go from there. We got plenty of clients who tell us, I'm going to rent this for a year. Okay, cool. And then like we've got one client, one of my favorite clients, awesome. And they said they're going to do it for a year, and they moved to Japan. They've been there for like 5 years. Like they're one of our first clients. I was like, how's Japan? It's awesome. Never coming back. Cool. Great. Like then and this happens all the time. So we've had one close, one move back in. One is just getting keys to their realtor. They didn't take our advice dealing with a realtor, but hopefully they brought a good one on. And then there's 2 others that are listed right now. One of them has a lease ending like end of September.
That's not selling.
So that's not selling. It's also in my building that I live in.
Right.
And there's a bunch of other reasons as to why it won't sell either, because there's like a big building envelope lawsuit and all this other junk going on.
Right.
Which is public information if you're a realtor and buying and stuff. So it's.
If you don't know about it, call me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, call Marty for the down low. So 160. We're looking at like maybe losing 5 to sale or move back in this year. We'll see how the end of the year goes. But clients aren't calling us freaking out about expenses or anything. If there are any clients that are going to watch this that are worried about expenses that haven't booked a call into my open calendar, it's very available. I don't know why you're not doing that. But
you have too many assistants apparently.
We're not bombarded. We got a good team. We got a very good team. I take those calls though. Those are mine. It's not like expenses are up for sure, but a lot of our clients are first-time owners who, them and their spouse both owned properties before they got together, and then they continued to increase their income, and then they moved in together, and they kept this one.
You're right.
And then they're fine, right? And they're paying a $1,000 mortgage or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they're cash flow positive or break even. Some of them are cash flow negative, but they're high income earners, and they're like, real estate's my thing, and that's it. So.
And interestingly enough, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I would imagine that most of a property manager's business is, if people are tight on their finances, they're not going to call you. They're just going to probably.
They haggle though.
They haggle, right? But they're gonna fish around. But then they're gonna go like, well, I'm already losing, so I'm mitigate costs.
They do it themselves.
They do it themselves, right? And so you're gonna probably be dealing with people more so that have the ability to pass it off to somebody else and not have to worry about it.
And our prices are public information, like they're right on the website, right? And that's why we charge. We're like the only company that I've seen, I think, that charges an engagement fee. So you want to work with us before we market your property, you pay us $500. Easy way to filter out.
Right.
Because the people that actually want to do business with you, they're happy.
So how's that $500 work? So like, when they engage you, but when they sign the contract.
Yeah. So when they sign the contract with us to start, like we'll go take a look at the place, even though in 95% of the cases you don't need to look at a place before you rent it.
Right.
Because we're going to photograph it, do an ad and stuff anyways once you've engaged with us. So like we're assuming you know what in good repair and clean means, and if we assume that you didn't know what that means, we're kind of insulting you, right? So, and it, there's like 1 or 2 people who didn't understand what that was, and so there's the $500 up front. Then we get to work on photos, paid ads, showings, screening, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So we're spending all that money up front, and more so in many situations, to make sure it gets rented. It's just like you got to have
that's the security.
You got to have some skin in the game too, because the other thing is like a listing contract. You can enforce that if you need to, right? They stick on, depending on how slow you are as a realtor. It's an enforceable contract. For property management, we want to make sure that our contracts are approachable, and so it's very easy to sign up and then just waste a bunch of our time and money and then just screw off.
And not just basically you'll bring them tenants and they won't take them? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or they'll rent it to somebody else, they'll move back in or whatever, and that was always their intent. They're just hoping that we can find somebody better. And so why would we do that when $500 will cover like 6 weeks to 2 months of our marketing costs, and we'll sniff that out in that time? Then it's like, okay, well, you're being dishonest, or you didn't really understand what this was, even though we had multiple conversations and whatever. So have a good day, right?
Yeah.
But it happens very, very rarely. We don't really fire a lot of clients. It's maybe 5, and 3 of them were completely. Yeah. It is what it is. The other end of the bell curve, right? Everybody runs into that. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's all types.
Yeah.
There's all types in all different industries and markets.
Yeah.
I've heard, I think we've all heard of like stories recently on the news about an increase in fraud.
Yep.
People mucking up paperwork, raising their income. You seen that? You got any fun stories you want?
Yeah, we got a really good one that I'm very proud of, actually.
Nice.
So big one for landlords if you're going to rent your property by yourselves. When the market is slow, the fraudsters start to show up more often. So anybody who's really chatty with you and everything's going really well, but you're getting no other interest, that's a red flag right away. Because they're just going along like it's a crazy market, and these people know exactly how to talk to you. The best part about what we do when we provide our services and screening is that we don't listen to that crap. It's just there is a process, so just get to the next stage. We'll talk to the people, like we're all human, like we like people, that's why we're in business. But what they say doesn't matter so much. We want to see reconciliation of their story. So these are references, pay stubs, credit checks, all those kind of things, right? So we had one in the super slow Q4 of last year. We were renting I think it's a 2 or 3 bed like loft, 1,600 square foot condo right on the water in New Westminster, right very close to where we first met.
Yeah.
And it was pretty slow. Owner bought it as an investment property. I think they might want to move into it in years from now or whatever. But great owner, and marketing it really slow. And they're like, okay, fair enough. And they just took our advice. It's like, it's going to be slow through December. It is what it is. But we get 1 or 2 people popping in there every week to take a look at it and see if they're going to offer or not. So we had one person offer on. Went through the whole process of screening. Got through our whole system. And We sign the lease, receive the deposit in certified funds, which is one of the big ones. Certified funds, cash, bank order, or money, cash, certified check or bank draft, email money transfer, so they can't bounce. Done. We don't do cash, email money transfer stuff. And so then we booked the move-in appointment. So the person shows up, and they provide their passport for their ID, and they're coming up from the States, like America. And we get this all the time, different passports from people coming in from all other countries.
Sure,
all
lots
the
of
time.
International students,
Visas
big
and all that kind of
renters,
stuff.
right?
Yeah. Mostly international developers and all that kind of stuff, right? So we set the move-in date to get possession and the move-in inspection and everything. And so they show up and they meet with our property manager, and we're going through. We always want to grab ID, proof of insurance, proof of utility accounts, and they brought their U.S. passport. We deal with that all the time. Got plenty of foreign, people coming over from the UK, Brazil, Mexico, China, India, wherever. Software developers for the last couple of years, for sure.
Big time.
And so we're used to checking this, and we look at this U.S. passport, and it's like, this isn't even, I didn't drink until I was of age, crazily enough, because I like, my lunches and stuff now, but like, this is a joke. Like, this is embarrassing.
So the passport itself was
Passport was modified, but just like, not good.
still, the glue's still around. the
Yeah,
edges.
like just not, and then the best part was that they'd already emailed us. We'd asked them something about their work permit or whatever, and they'd already emailed us a photo of their passport unprovoked. And the passports weren't even the same. Like, it was pretty clear. Like, our property manager pulled up the photo they sent us, and like, this isn't even the same thing.
So what were they changing?
Sorry?
What were they changing? Like, what was?
Oh, it was just like not even the same photo. Like, it's like they steal passports. I have no idea what these people do. But they were just two different documents. Birth dates wrong, some stuff obviously modified, and the thing didn't match the original one they sent us in an email. So it's just like red flags going off. So we said, okay, like, this clearly isn't your ID. So, and they're like, well, this is all I have. Okay, that's okay. Like, we can still get you possession as long as you meet, these things. So the property manager is trained to like, Kate, we're not doing possession today. We'll do the whole move-in inspection, whatever. We can send it to you. You can sign off on it and everything, but we're not giving you keys. Like, you're not,
Right.
This is not your place because we don't know who you are yet.
Right.
It's happened before where people literally just like, they show up and they've lost their ID.
Right.
And it's legitimate. And they're like,
yeah.
it's at home. They call their, their spouse or whatever. And like, yeah, no, it's right here. It's okay. Like, we'll meet you tomorrow. Go get it. Bring it. It's the real thing. They made a mistake. And they're moving. They're stressed. Fair enough. It happens. Not super often, but it happens.
Right.
This one was just like, okay. And then they just like, that was it. We'll meet you again. And so the property manager is going on vacation. And so she's like, can you deal with this? So we sent the person, this is what we need. Do you have all these things? Called them. Yep, have all these things. Great. I'll meet you tomorrow at this time. They booked into my calendar because I gave them some options or whatever. And I show up at the property the next day. Nobody's there for like half an hour. And I text, and we already know they're messing around.
Something's
right?
up. Yeah.
So send them a text message, call them, nothing. And then this car just pulls in. It's like this cul-de-sac. There's plenty of those little cul-de-sacs down Quayside Drive and whatever, right?
Right.
And there was this person just sitting there, and I can kind of see him eyeing me at the lobby and stuff in the rearview mirror. It's just this like random lady or whatever. And so I'm like texting my property manager while they're on vacation because they're interested in this. It's the first time they would have run into this. It's like, what does this person
Look like.
look like? Were they pretty close to the passport pictures? Like, yeah, one of the passport pictures like seemed to be them, but like, this. And I'm kind of looking. I was like, this is that person. So I like took a photo of their license plate, right? And they weren't picking up the phone. We're text messaging. So I messaged them and say, Kate, like, and we have like a general text message inbox. So I'm sending out, hey, apologies, but like Keaton had to move along to another appointment, so he's left the property. Please let us know when you want to like, schedule another appointment. Just being very professional, whatever. And so I get in my car and I leave, and I'm watching this van or whatever. I leave.
It was a van too, sketchy.
Well, it was like a, not like a van, but like, whatever, minivan or whatever. And I leave, and then our phone starts blowing up. voicemail, we're on the way, we're almost there, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we're not gonna, like, I wasn't born yesterday. We're not turning around doing this. So we sent them one final follow-up email. That was the last we've heard of them. So
I wonder what the play was.
we filed a police report. The police, they're like, did they steal anything from you? I was like, no, we've got $1,600 and whatever dollars of their certified funds in our trust account that we're just going to distribute to the owner with a waiver of, like, if this money exists to somebody, like, belongs to somebody else, and they can prove that, you might have to give the money back. I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But okay, thanks for being diligent. So we sent that off. The place rented, pretty quickly, early January, because the market turned a little bit, and those tenants are great, and everything's fine.
Crazy.
It's like they just gave us $1,600 or whatever it was to try to mess around. So, but yeah, that definitely pops up. So when landlords are out there trying to do it themselves, this isn't great advice right now in a video, but it's like you got to be cautious. But like, of what? It's like I can't explain that to people.
Right.
Right. Like,
I would imagine it's like, you hear about it in the mortgage field where it's like falsifying income documents. That's what we're hearing a lot of, right? Mm-hmm. So
I know they're trying to
do you
connect
have
the CRA with that.
Yes, and direct link now to the CRA, right? To be able to,
which hopefully that'd be
which
useful.
would make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're directly hooked into our bank account, so why not?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Why not double check that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would make sense.
Especially high risk transactions. We kind of touched on last quarter, well, Q4 was kind of like the down market in the rental market. I mean, I think you mentioned earlier as well, last year was a bit of a crapshoot all around.
Very weird, yeah.
Yeah, very weird year, right?
Yeah.
When it's not a weird year, like what is, if I've got an investor client coming to me saying, okay, I want to buy an investment property in the next 12 months, when's the best time to maximize like that high volume of rental interest so that obviously you can maybe maximize the rent that you're going to be getting? Because it is seasonal, I'm sure. Like
it's very seasonal. Yeah. So traditionally, like if you had the most boring year ever, where you can like negotiate, your landlord comes to you, okay, you're gonna stick around for another year. What's going on? And you're like, I'm looking around. The rent might be a little bit lower. Can we get a rent reduction? And people in Vancouver are like, what the hell is that?
What's
like,
a rent reduction?
This happens in places like Alberta and a normal market with enough supply. Just putting that out there. I don't know what supply is. And back in the good old days when you would negotiate like a $25 difference on your rent, it's the most boring conversation ever. You do it on the way out of your apartment building to go grocery shopping or whatever, and everybody's happy and they just sign off on whatever because nobody cares because it was balanced and it was good.
Right.
That's what a normal rental market is. And those are also profitable buildings at the same time. So wrap your head around that. But getting into like a really normal, boring year is the graph is kind of like a picnic table, right? So you're going up from January to like, May or March long weekend kind of thing, like spring break, what we're coming up to right now.
Right.
And then you're at kind of the peak and it kind of runs kind of slowly along there with a little blip around August and like Labor Day when the kids are going to start going back to school. So the people that want like a house or a townhouse, some extra bedrooms, that's when they're just like freaking out and they gotta find their spot. And then from there, it casually goes down literally a 45-degree angle. And that's just like the most boring rental template that there is. So people move a lot in the summer, just when it's nice out.
Back to school.
Yeah, the back to school is the big one.
Right.
And so in the last like 2 years, we've seen like, the normal ramp up and then summer and then July hits and it's just crazy.
Wow.
And the last 2 years, I said in 2022, this is the worst year ever from the perspective of tenants. This is the worst I've ever seen it in the 12 years of the time I've been in the business. This is horrible. And then I said that last year again. Though this is now the worst year ever. I can't believe it's gotten this bad. What a disaster. And then, Q4 was like, oh, it's all kind of given itself back, honestly. Like right now, as we speak, we're March 2024, we're renting at March 2023 rents. Yes, last year just didn't exist. as far as pricing goes anymore.
That's interesting. We're seeing kind of the same thing. I think one of the reasons why we've had this like sharp U-turn in prices in the HPI, that 2% that I was talking about month over month, which was like crazy. We had 6 consecutive months of price declines in the resale market, right? And now we've got all of a sudden a 2% increase, like 2% a month. Like if you think about it, that's crazy.
24% annualized.
Well,
right?
yeah, exactly. Like think about it. Like that's a raging market. Like by summertime, our prices could be up by 10%. And I think like what happened was like everybody, like you just said, everybody kind of seems like they forgot the last half of last year, and they're like comps from when the market was hot last spring, right? When we had that like when Tiff came on and said, yeah, this is the last rate hike. We're going to hold rates as long as you guys behave, children behave, don't go crazy. We're going to hold rates. And then, of course, everyone went crazy and they had to raise rates again. And that's when things died, right? Yeah. But it's the same thing. Like, people are just kind of, well, what happened back there? What happened in April of last year? Well, let's just go with that number. Don't worry about December.
Well, and prospective clients...
We'll just go a straight line.
Prospective clients are still coming to us with August 2023 rents in mind. Yeah. And they don't exist right now. Could they exist August this year? Yeah. Like, this market has been completely batshit year on year on year on year on year. And yeah, we're coming out of a pandemic where a ton of money was spent and all that kind of stuff, so it's expected, but it's like, will 2024 finally be that like just normal, boring year, or are we just going to keep seeing, because we continue to compound all these problems by not doing anything substantial, right? And I
in terms of rental supply and stuff you're talking
about?
Like
I applaud the BC NDP about with like the upzoning and all those kind of things. I'm not so sure the incentives to the cities are going to work out with those kind of things. Like,
I just like how hard-handed it was, to be honest with you. Like, we need a little bit of that. I think that
this is the new rule.
Let's go. Like,
it's 60s. It's 60 and a 50 now today. Yeah. Which would be another good one.
Yeah. Instead of having 10 town hall discussions about it, and like no, we're in a major housing shortage. Let's do something about it, and elect me out of office if you don't like it.
Yeah, and we'll see if the incentives from the provincial government flow down to the cities, right? Because there's just in the greater Vancouver, there's 21 municipalities. Good luck. Like, I know, like, my parents have been city for I think it's over 2 years now, trying to separate off their 6,000 square foot backyard, which has no trees and no water and 45-foot frontage. And there's a property literally I could hit a baseball with, and I'm a horrible thrower. That just did the exact same thing they're asking for. It's in 2 years.
If I'm not wrong, they're in a municipality that is quite adverse to development, though, or at least has been.
Not if you go down there and drive down. It's a pretty easy one to look at. So there's a lot of cranes down there where I'm talking about.
It's changing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see if supply does start coming on, but I just don't we've compounded the issue for so many years where, I mean, I've heard turn on a dime quite a bit in the last couple of weeks talking about the sales market, listening to realtors, and we've seen Labor Day, I was literally calling around to some of my other property management company owner colleagues and managing brokers and stuff, and just being like, I'm worried our marketing doesn't work. So
am I broken?
Is yours working? And they're like, thanks so much for calling, man. Like, I was freaking out the last couple of weeks as well, but we're seeing the same thing. It's like, okay, good, thank God. Let's go to lunch and talk about it and kind of figure it out. Right. And then January 8th, as soon as kids got back to school this year, boom. It was like, oh, everything's live again, right? Everything on Facebook is happening normally. Everything on Zumper is happening normally. Our text message stuff's going off, and it's just like it's like everybody decides at the same time because we're all on Instagram and Facebook and Globe and Mail, and it's like, oh, we're all just doing the same stuff. We're all getting the same advice, amalgamated to everything.
100%, yeah.
And then as a realtor, I guess it's pretty difficult. We done.
Oh, we're over. I gotta get out of here.
Oh, fuck, okay. Let's go.
Yeah, great conversation today, Keaton. If you guys enjoyed it, let us know. Drop us a comment, and you can find me on social at Marty the Realtor, and Keaton.
Yep. So if you want to chat with me about property management, and if you like this conversation, we'd love to hear back from you. The easiest way to get in contact with me is text the word homeowner, all one word, to 604-256-6930. You'll get an automatic response, go right into our system, and that's everything you need to know about us. If you Google property management, and just find Greater Vancouver Tenant Property Management, we're pretty available, or just Google my name, Keaton Bessey, and there's crap everywhere. So we'd love to hear from you.
A lot of crap on Twitter.
A lot of crap on Twitter.
Okay, with the chairs.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're empty. Brutal. Shitty service around here.
All right, I gotta go. Fuck. Thanks, guys. That was amazing.
Get out of here.